Some of the things to ask when you get a call that I think might be important to you. One thing is, and this is from people calling and saying, you know, I've got a swarm of bees, and would you like to have them? Would you come get them? Well, describe what you see. You know, tell me what you're seeing in this swarm. Well, it's not unusual that bees are foraging on a bush or a tree that's in full bloom, and they're just covered up with bees foraging on those blooms, and not that many people misunderstand that, and they think this is a big swarm of bees, and you can come capture those bees off those trees or bushes blooming. So you have to go through that explanation of what's going on. And but if they actually are a ball of bees, then you know you can get them to describe that. And then what are the bees located on? You know, are they on a post? Are they on a chain link fence? Are they on the side of a wall? Are they under the fender of a car? Or in the grill of a car? Are they, in some cases, are they up on the gas pump in the service station? You know, where are the bees? Those are some pretty important things you need to know to be prepared for what you might need. How large is the cluster? How big is this ball of bees? Is it as big as a baseball or a football or a soccer ball or basketball?
It's always big as a basketball.
It's always big as a 5-gallon bucket, but you can generally estimate that it's going to be smaller than what they tell you.
Yeah.
But anyway, try to get some idea, you know, about how large it is. How high off the ground is it? You know, well, if they tell you it's about head high, they're talking about Michael Jordan doing a slam dunk. It's amazing how inaccurate people are about estimating some of these conditions, size of the swarm, the height of them. And those things. So always, if they say it's 10 or 12 feet, take an extension ladder.
Yes.
Because you're gonna need
Someone to hold
it,
it.
most likely. And how long have they been there? Well, quite often they don't know, but sometimes they do. Well, they weren't here yesterday. But they're out there today. And that, they may not have seen them yesterday. They could have been there yesterday, but quite often people are accurate about that, but sometimes not. But that would help you understand a little bit about whether they might still be there or not when you get there. If they're there pretty late in the evening, in the afternoon, late, you probably could go on and they'll still be there. They usually, if they're there that late, they're not going to leave real late in the evening. They'll stay overnight at least. And another thing you need to know is, well, what's the address? You know, you need to know, even know where you're going. That'll be helpful. And are there any animals near? You know, do you have any dogs or do you have any horses? Any animals that are pinned up or chained, you need to know about them. And you need to know, I know nobody's dogs ever bite, but they have teeth. So, and bees and furry animals are not good companions, basically. Cats is kind of immaterial because you can't keep them confined. If they get ready to go, unless you got them caged, they're gonna go. But the fact is that bees can become upset and attack animals. So horses and dogs and things are pretty important. You need to know about what animals might be around. And also people. People are extremely curious about these. You'll find that people are prone to be over curious sometimes when you're working with bees and with swarm. And regardless of how much you caution them that there might be a problem, you know, to not be here, these bees could sting. You know, they can do that. But people by and large, probably don't adhere to that advice real close. In fact, sometimes it gets pretty serious, doesn't it, Judy? It can, but try to advise people, you know, that these are wild creatures. They're not domestic, and they have a function of their own about some of the things, and they can become defensive. So be sure and make that clear with them. If you're using devices like this, is there electricity available? If not, you know, you need to either alter what you're doing or provide, as Mark does, provide his own electricity with his vehicle. Any other questions that you can think of?
Is it your property?
The what?
Is it your property that it's on? Do I have permission to be on this property?
Well, that's a good question, yeah. But in collecting swarm is not as critical, and that's what we're talking about now, but if you're doing any bee removal, you really need to be positive about the ownership of the property before you do things there.